The day Fiona left, I didn't think it would be the last day I would ever see her. It was early in the morning, and the sky had that strange orange tint, the one that makes you feel like you're still half asleep. The kids were still asleep, and I was already up, brewing coffee, staring at the same half-empty mug I'd been nursing for the last hour. The house was eerily quiet, like something had been swallowed whole by the stillness. I didn't know why it felt different. Maybe it was because I had never been alone in this house for so long before. Maybe it was because Fiona and I rarely spent time apart. I was used to her presence, used to the way the house hummed when she was around. I guess, in hindsight, I should have noticed how the silence in the house pressed down on me the moment she stepped out the door. She didn't even say goodbye, not really. Just a quick peck on the cheek, the scent of her perfume lingering in the air for a moment. "I'll be back tomorrow, don't worry about it," she said. Then the door closed behind her, and she was gone. I didn't question it. Life was busy, we were both busy, and a day apart was nothing new. I figured it would be one of those uneventful days where I got everything done. Pick up the dry cleaning, take care of some errands, maybe even squeeze in a nap, if I was lucky. The kids were with their grandparents for the weekend. It was supposed to be a break for all of us. I should have felt relieved, but instead, there was this underlying discomfort. It felt like something was shifting, but I couldn't put my finger on it. The house felt too big for just me. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, or maybe just waiting for something. The air seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for a signal, for something to happen. I tried to push the feeling aside. Stop being dramatic, I told myself. I picked up my phone and tried to distract myself. That's when I saw it, an email from Fiona. At first, I didn't think anything of it. But then I saw the subject line, "I'm sorry, but it's time we talk about everything." Everything. I clicked it open, expecting some mundane update from her business trip or maybe just a note about her day. But that's not what I found. Instead, there were a few lines of text, and then, attached, was a photo. I stared at the screen for a long time, my thumb frozen on the phone. The photo was of Fiona, my wife, sitting in a coffee shop, laughing with a man I didn't recognize. She looked beautiful, carefree, like she hadn't a care in the world. Her hand was resting on the table next to his, a subtle touch. Nothing too obvious, but it was there. And that's when I felt it. Something cold slithered down my spine, an unmistakable feeling that I wasn't supposed to be seeing this. I wasn't supposed to be looking at this image of her with someone else. I didn't respond immediately. In fact, I didn't respond at all. Instead, I sat there, staring at the photo, unable to look away, even though my heart was pounding in my chest. My mind raced with questions I couldn't answer. Who was he? What did this mean? Was this just a harmless picture from some random cafe? Or was there something more? I spent the next few hours pacing around the house, staring at the empty walls, each room seeming to echo the emptiness I felt. I couldn't focus on anything. The sense of discomfort only deepened with every minute that passed. It wasn't like me to be paranoid. I had always trusted Fiona. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but nothing ever seemed so out of the ordinary. We didn't have a perfect relationship, but I didn't expect her to do something like this, not like this. I tried calling her. Twice. She didn't pick up. I left a message. "Hey, Fiona. I saw the email you sent. Just wanted to check in and see how you're doing." I waited. Nothing. I tried again a few hours later. "Fiona, can you call me back when you get a chance? We need to talk." It was strange. She always responded quickly. Always. But there was nothing. It was like she had disappeared. As the evening approached, I began to feel that same strange unease again. The silence in the house grew thicker, and I could hear my own heartbeat in the stillness. By 9 p.m., I was on edge. I knew I had to do something, but I didn't know what. I kept thinking back to the photo, the man in the cafe. My thoughts kept spiraling, trying to make sense of everything. Was I just being irrational? Or was there really something happening that I couldn't see? I didn't want to believe it. I really didn't. But the nagging feeling wouldn't go away. I felt abandoned, like I was on the outside looking in. And then, just when I thought I couldn't take the waiting anymore, I heard something that made my heart stop. The sound of the front door opening. I froze. Fiona's car was still parked in the driveway. I hadn't heard her pull in. But the door. I could hear the distinct creak of it, followed by footsteps in the hallway. I stood motionless, trying to process what was happening. Was it her? Was she back? Or was it someone else? I waited for the footsteps to stop, but they never did. The figure continued moving through the house, and for a split second, I wondered if I was losing my mind. And then the door to the bedroom opened. And that's when I realized Fiona hadn't come home. The house was empty. This is how it began. This is how everything went wrong. And when I turned the corner, I saw the message she had left me. I can't do this anymore. I've gone away, and I can't come back. And just like that, the life I knew, our life, was gone. I stood there in the dim light, trying to wrap my head around what had just happened. The house was still, almost too still, as if holding its breath, waiting for something. My pulse was racing, and I could feel the weight of every passing second pressing down on me. Fiona had left, completely disappeared without a word. I stepped cautiously into the hallway, the floorboards creaking under my weight. My mind was swirling with 1,000 questions. Was this some kind of misunderstanding? Had something happened to her? I couldn't believe it. Not after everything we'd been through. But deep down, I knew something had changed. That photo, the way she had been acting all day, it wasn't like her. It didn't make sense. As I moved toward our bedroom, I noticed something on the bed. It was an envelope. A small, plain white envelope with my name written on it in Fiona's neat handwriting. My heart skipped a beat, a cold dread creeping over me. I grabbed the letter with trembling hands, almost afraid to open it. What could she possibly have to say? What had she done? I unfolded the paper carefully, the familiar scent of her perfume lingering on the edge of the letter. My eyes scanned the words, each one like a punch to my gut. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to tell you this, but I couldn't live a lie anymore. You deserve the truth. My hands shook as I continued reading, each sentence heavier than the last. There's someone else. Someone I've been seeing for a while now. And it's not fair to you anymore. I can't keep pretending everything is fine when it isn't. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream, to throw the letter across the room, but I just stood there, staring at the words, my mind unable to process them. She had been seeing someone else. Someone for how long? How had I missed it? I thought we were happy. I thought we were fine. I'm leaving for good. Don't try to find me. I've made my decision, and there's nothing you can do to change it. The words burned into my mind. Fiona was gone. For good. There was no negotiation, no room for discussion. She had already made up her mind. I stumbled backward, the letter falling from my hands as I sank to the edge of the bed. The room felt suffocating, like the walls were closing in on me. I couldn't think, couldn't make sense of anything. What was I supposed to do now? How was I supposed to keep going with this hole in my chest? This sense of betrayal I couldn't shake. She had left me. She had walked away without a second thought, without any explanation. Just a letter. I picked up the phone, desperate to call her, but I already knew. I already knew she wouldn't answer. This was it. It took me hours to finally move from that spot. The house felt foreign now, like a place I didn't recognize. I thought about the man in the photo, the one she had been laughing with. Had she planned this all along? Was I just too blind to see it? I had no answers, only questions. And I couldn't stop myself from wondering. Was I ever truly the one she wanted? Or was I just the one she had settled for? As I sat there, the weight of everything crashing down on me, I realized one thing for sure. Fiona's disappearance wasn't the end of this story. It was only the beginning. I didn't sleep that night. The letter was still on the floor, taunting me with every word. Fiona's words echoed in my mind, replaying over and over in my head. I'm leaving for good. I couldn't fathom it. It didn't make sense. I thought I knew her better than anyone. Sure, we had our issues. Who doesn't? But this felt like a complete betrayal. The woman I had shared everything with for over a decade had walked out on me without any real explanation. By the time morning came, I couldn't stay still. I had to do something, anything. I needed answers. And I needed to find her. I started by going through her things, though I knew it was probably a terrible idea. I had no plan, no clear strategy, but I felt desperate. I began with her phone. I had to know who the man was. She must have mentioned him, at least once. As I flipped through her contacts, I found nothing unusual. No new names, no strange numbers. But then I saw it. A text thread buried deep in her conversations. I opened it, my hands shaking, and there it was. Can't wait to see you again tonight. I miss you. That was from last night. It hit me like a freight train. She'd been texting him right up until she left. My stomach twisted. I scrolled further, looking for more clues. There were others, messages, photos. They weren't just casual exchanges. They were intimate, loving. It was like reading someone else's life, a life that wasn't mine. I couldn't believe it. She was having an affair. The realization hit me hard, but there was more. She wasn't just having an affair, she was planning to leave me for him. And now she was gone. I needed to know where she was. I needed to confront her, to ask her why she'd do this to us. I grabbed my keys and left the house, heading straight to the only place I knew she could be, her parents' house. They lived a few hours away, but I had to go. If she wasn't there, I'd try the friends, the places she used to go. I couldn't just sit here and let her disappear. The drive was long, the road stretching out in front of me like an endless void. I kept thinking about the photo, the man's face. Who was he? What did he have that I didn't? What had I missed? The questions kept piling on, one after another, each one more impossible to answer. When I finally arrived at her parents' house, my heart was racing. I knocked, my mind racing with scenarios. Her mother answered, her face full of surprise when she saw me. "Is Fiona here?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Her mother shook her head, confusion washing over her face. "No, she hasn't been here. We haven't heard from her in days." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Days. She hadn't been there for days? My mind raced again. If she wasn't with her family, then where the hell was she? I drove back home in a daze. The sun was setting, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. I could feel the weight of my own confusion pressing down on me. I was losing my grip. First, it was the phone, now it was her family. Nothing was adding up. Fiona was gone, and it seemed like no one knew where she was. I returned to the house, hoping for some sort of sign, something to tell me what had happened. The house felt even emptier than before. As I walked inside, I noticed something strange, a bag. It wasn't hers, not that I recognized anyway. It was a small, leather duffel bag sitting by the front door, like someone had just dropped it there in a hurry. My heart skipped. Whose bag was that? I opened it cautiously, expecting to find something useful, something that could give me another clue. Inside, there was a change of clothes, a toothbrush, and a plane ticket. The name on the ticket wasn't Fiona's. It was a man's name, the same man from the photo. I felt a wave of nausea hit me. My thoughts were spinning out of control. Fiona had gone to see him. She had left, and she hadn't even bothered to tell me where she was going. I stood there, staring at the ticket, my hand trembling. All I could think about was getting to him, finding him, and confronting him. But how? How could I find them? Suddenly, the phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a message. "I know you're looking for me. Don't bother. I've made my choice. Please don't try to find me. It's over." It was Fiona, and it was the final nail in the coffin. I felt the weight of her words pressed down on me, a cold realization sinking in. She wasn't just gone, she had chosen him. And now, I was left with nothing. The message I'd just received from Fiona hung in the air like a death sentence. It was over. She had chosen him. The words felt like they were carved into my mind, each one searing itself deeper. I stared at my phone, feeling the weight of every letter pressing down on me. "I know you're looking for me. Don't bother. I've made my choice. Please don't try to find me. It's over." Over. That was it. No explanation. No apology. Just an ultimatum. I couldn't move. The walls of the house seemed to close in around me as I tried to process what had happened. My mind was in overdrive. How long had this been going on? Had she been planning this for months? Was I just a fool, completely unaware of everything? I felt a rush of anger, of betrayal, coursing through me. How could she do this? How could she leave without any warning? Without even a shred of consideration for everything we'd built together? And that man, who was he really? What did he have that I didn't? But the anger quickly turned into confusion. There were too many unanswered questions. The ticket, the messages, the secrecy. There had to be more to this. I needed answers. And I wasn't going to let her walk away from me so easily. I took a deep breath, grabbing the plane ticket from the bag again. The name on it still sent a shiver down my spine. Who was this guy? Where was he from? Why had Fiona kept him a secret for so long? I knew I had to find out. I jumped back into my car, the engine roaring to life as I sped out of the driveway. I didn't have a clear plan, but I had one goal: find him. Hours later, I was standing in front of a building I had never seen before. It was an office complex, tucked away in a quiet corner of town. A feeling of dread settled in my stomach. Was this where Fiona had been? Was this where they were meeting? I tried to steady my breathing, pushing past the gnawing anxiety. It didn't matter how afraid I was. This had gone too far. I needed to know the truth, no matter what it cost. I walked inside, scanning the lobby for any sign of the man on the ticket. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I knew one thing. I wasn't going to leave until I got the answers I was looking for. I stood in the lobby, my mind racing, my heart pounding in my chest. The building felt cold, too sterile, like a place where secrets were kept hidden in plain sight. The receptionist looked up as I approached, her eyes scanning me, clearly wondering what I was doing there. I must have looked out of place, disheveled, frantic, but I didn't care. "I'm looking for someone," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, though I knew it betrayed me. I couldn't stop shaking. "His name is Ethan Turner." Her fingers hovered over the keyboard for a moment before she looked back at me, a neutral expression on her face. "I'm sorry, I can't release that information." I could feel the frustration bubbling up inside me. Of course, she wouldn't tell me. I wasn't important enough. But that didn't stop me. "Please. It's urgent," I insisted. "He's someone important to my wife." Her eyes narrowed, and she seemed to hesitate for a split second. I couldn't tell if she believed me, or if she was just trying to gauge how far I would push. But then, as if some decision was made in her mind, she nodded slightly. "I'll check. One moment, please." I didn't have much time. Every second felt like it was dragging on longer than the last. I paced the floor, feeling like a man on the edge. I was about to get answers, or I was about to lose my mind trying. After what felt like an eternity, the receptionist returned. "He's in the building. You can take the elevator to the second floor." My legs felt like they were made of stone as I walked toward the elevator. I pressed the button, each ding of the bell inside the elevator making my pulse race faster. When the doors finally opened on the second floor, I could feel the air thicken. This was it. This was the moment where everything would change. I stepped out, scanning the hallway. The offices here were quiet, almost too quiet. It felt like a place where nothing happened. But I knew better. I knew this was where Fiona's secret life had been built, where it had been hidden from me for so long. I moved toward the nearest door. I didn't know what I would say when I saw him. What could I say? Was I supposed to ask him about Fiona? Was I supposed to shout at him, demand answers? Nothing made sense, but I had to confront him. I had to know the truth. I reached the door, my hand on the handle. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. And then, before I could second-guess myself, I turned the knob and pushed the door open. There he was, Ethan Turner, the man who had stolen my wife from me. At first, I didn't know what to do. I stood frozen in the doorway, my mind struggling to catch up with the scene in front of me. Ethan was sitting at a desk, papers scattered in front of him, completely unaware of my presence. He looked ordinary, too ordinary. Tall, dark hair, a face that wasn't anything remarkable, but somehow still handsome in a way that made my stomach twist. But it wasn't his looks that made my blood run cold. It was the fact that he was the one who had taken my life, my family, and turned it upside down. I stepped into the room, my voice finally finding me. "Ethan Turner?" He looked up, a slight frown appearing as his gaze met mine. His eyes flicked over me, taking me in. There was something about the way he looked at me, as if he was sizing me up, like he had already known I would be here. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice smooth, too calm. I took a step forward, my fists clenched at my sides. "You can start by telling me what the hell is going on between you and my wife." Ethan's face didn't change. There was no panic, no hesitation. He just stared at me, his expression unreadable. He didn't flinch. "Your wife?" he repeated slowly, almost like he was savoring the words. "You mean Fiona, right?" The anger inside me surged. "Yes, Fiona. What have you done to her?" His gaze flickered for a moment, almost imperceptibly, but it was enough to make me realize that I had hit a nerve. "I haven't done anything to her, man. She made her own choices," he said coolly, his voice too casual for what was happening. It took everything in me not to lunge at him. The nerve, the absolute audacity of this man to act so indifferent. "She left me for you," I said, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. "She's gone because of you. You've destroyed everything I've built." Ethan leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms, still looking unervingly calm. "She didn't leave you because of me. She left you because she didn't want to be with you anymore." His words hit me like a slap in the face. She didn't want to be with me anymore. That was it. That was the reality. I couldn't speak for a moment, the weight of his words sinking in. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about something deeper, something I wasn't prepared to face. Fiona had chosen him. It wasn't some grand scheme, some elaborate plot. She had simply chosen him. I had no words left. Ethan's words hung in the air like a cold breeze. The finality of them hit harder than I had imagined. She didn't want to be with you anymore. I wanted to scream at him, to charge across the room and make him feel the same pain I was drowning in. But I couldn't. I was frozen, trapped in the unbearable reality that Fiona had made a choice. And that choice wasn't me. He watched me carefully, like he could see the storm brewing inside me, the emotions I was struggling to contain. He didn't seem afraid. In fact, he looked almost satisfied, like he had won. I took a deep breath, trying to control my shaking hands. How long? I finally managed to ask. My voice was rough, strained. How long has this been going on? Ethan paused for a moment, and I could see the hesitation in his eyes. But only for a split second. Long enough, he said. There was no apology, no hint of regret. Just a simple statement, like it was all just a matter of fact. The weight of his answer hit me hard. Long enough. Long enough for Fiona to get tired of me, to decide she was better off with him. My heart clenched. Why? I managed to choke out. Why my wife? Ethan shrugged, a nonchalant gesture that made my blood boil. Why not? We connected, and that's all that matters. I stared at him, speechless for a moment. That's all that matters? I repeated, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. You're fine with tearing apart my family for some connection? His gaze softened slightly, but only for a moment. Look, man, I'm not here to apologize. Fiona made her decision, and she's happier now. That's all I care about. The room felt suffocating. I wanted to run, to escape, but I couldn't move. I was trapped in this conversation, this nightmare, with the man who had taken everything from me. I took another step forward. Where is she? Where did you take her? Ethan's face hardened at the question. I'm not telling you that. His voice had changed now, the calm demeanor slipping just a little. You're not going to find her. My mind raced. The words, you're not going to find her, echoed in my head like a warning. But I couldn't give up. Not yet. I was done with playing nice, done with pretending I could just walk away. Fiona was out there somewhere. And no matter what it took, I was going to find her. The words echoed in my mind as I left the building, each one sharper than the last. Ethan had no intention of telling me where Fiona was. He didn't care. The look in his eyes told me everything. I was just another obstacle in his way. But I couldn't just walk away. I wouldn't. I barely registered the drive back to my car. My thoughts were too tangled. Fiona, the woman I had loved for over a decade, was gone. And it wasn't just the betrayal that hurt the most. It was the fact that she had already made up her mind, already left me behind. Ethan didn't even have to fight for her. She'd handed herself over willingly. But I had to find her. I had to know where she was. My brain kept looping back to the same thing. Why? Why had she done this? What had pushed her to leave everything we built? As I pulled up to my house, my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number, and for a moment, I hesitated. Was it Fiona? Had she changed her mind? I quickly answered, my heart racing. Hello. The voice on the other end was unfamiliar. Is this Nick Carter? The voice asked, smooth, professional. Yes. Who is this? I have information about your wife, Fiona. My heart stopped. I gripped the phone tighter, my pulse quickening. What do you know about her? There was a pause, and I could hear the faint sound of paper shuffling. I'm not the kind of person to get involved in family matters, but you should know this. She's in a place where you can't reach her. If you keep looking for her, you might regret it. The words chilled me to the bone. What are you talking about? Where is she? Like I said, you're better off not knowing. Trust me. Let it go. The line went dead before I could respond, leaving me standing there, holding the phone to my ear in complete shock. Regret? What did that mean? Was this some kind of warning? I felt the weight of it all pressing down on me. Was I really supposed to let go of Fiona? Let her slip through my fingers like she didn't matter? There was no way I could just let it go. I had to keep pushing. But something in my gut told me I was walking a dangerous path, and I wasn't sure how much further I could go before I lost myself completely. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what that voice had said. Who had called me? And why did it feel like they knew something I didn't? Was Fiona in trouble? Was she being held against her will? The questions churned in my head, each one more confusing than the last. But as the hours ticked by, a single thought kept returning to me. If I didn't find her soon, I might lose her forever. I had to act fast. The days that followed felt like an eternity. Every minute spent wondering where Fiona was, every moment consumed by doubt and confusion. The warning from that mysterious voice echoed in my mind, but I couldn't let it stop me. I couldn't just give up. I needed closure, I needed to know why, and most importantly, I needed Fiona back. I spent hours on the phone, making calls, digging through any clue I could find. I even reached out to mutual friends, asking if anyone had seen her, if anyone knew where she might have gone. Most didn't have any answers, but I kept pressing on, my determination growing with every dead end. Then, one afternoon, it happened. I was sitting at my kitchen table, my hands trembling as I stared at the pile of notes and scribbled addresses. My phone buzzed, and I looked down to see a message from an unknown number. My heart leapt in my chest as I opened it. "I think it's time you know the truth." The message was short, cryptic, but something in me told me this was it. This was the breakthrough I'd been waiting for. I quickly typed a response, asking who it was and why they were contacting me. The reply came almost immediately. "Meet me at the old cafe on 5th. Fiona's there." I didn't waste a second. I grabbed my jacket, jumped into the car, and headed straight for the cafe. My mind raced the entire drive. Was this really happening? Was Fiona finally going to explain herself? Or was I walking into another trap? As I pulled into the parking lot of the small, quiet cafe, I saw her sitting at one of the tables by the window. My breath caught in my throat. There she was, looking the same as she always had, but there was a certain sadness in her eyes that I hadn't seen before. I walked over to her, unsure of what to say, but I couldn't stay silent any longer. "Fiona," I said, my voice shaky but steady. "What is going on? Why didn't you tell me? Why did you leave?" She looked up at me, her eyes brimming with emotion. "Nick, I'm so sorry. I never meant for things to get this far." Her voice broke, and she looked away for a moment, collecting herself. "I never wanted to hurt you, but I was lost. I didn't know how to be the person I wanted to be while I was still in that life." I took a step closer, my heart pounding. "But you could have told me. We could have figured this out together." "I know," she whispered, her voice thick with regret. "But I was scared. I was scared of how much I was hurting you, of how much I was losing myself." I reached out and took her hand, feeling the familiar warmth of her touch. "We've been through so much, Fiona. We're stronger than this. We can fix this. We can figure it out, together." She looked up at me, a tear slipping down her cheek. "I want to come home, Nick. I want to fix this. I know I made a terrible mistake, but I'm here now, and I want to make it right." In that moment, everything clicked into place. The anger, the hurt, all of it faded away as I saw the sincerity in her eyes. She wasn't just apologizing for what had happened. She was ready to rebuild, ready to try again. "I'm not going to give up on us," I said softly. "We'll figure this out. Together." We sat there for hours, talking through everything. The pain, the mistakes, and most importantly, the hope for the future. It wasn't going to be easy. There would be work to do, trust to rebuild, but I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't losing her again. As we left the cafe, hand in hand, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The road ahead wouldn't be perfect, but I was willing to walk it with her, every step of the way. And that was enough. The truth was, love wasn't just about never making mistakes. It was about learning from them, forgiving, and moving forward, together. And for the first time in a long while, I believed in that again.